Yeah. Can you say bitch at 148? I guess I'll find out. 149, 150. Let me talk a little more about myself.
Please do.
You know, a long time ago, a small boy had a dream. No, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
This is pretty much a medley of self-indulgence. So
What
you got a half hour. It's just the two of us.
I think
I'm here every night. Nobody cares about me, so it's left to you.
Bob, you know, I told you you can just unload on me. Or you have any angst or any problems or your frequent flyer mileage isn't up to date or anything you want to unload on me. I'm here to help. I'm love and action. This is the year I give back to the show and to the planet as a whole, because the planet's been so kind to me.
I think that's important. I think that it's important to share your good fortune.
Yes, it is.
And to do it sincerely.
You know, women were never attracted to me when I was a busboy, Bob.
Why not?
Women do not like busboys, as we called ourselves, table maintenance personnel managers.
Why not? Is it just too lowly a position?
I guess so. You're sitting there with that little Holiday Inn green jacket, the tartar sauce stain slowly creeping down the front, you know, creating faces and little cloud structures. And you never see two women going, Barbara, put down your sour fork. Look at that busboy over there. Look at those big hands scooping up those garbanzo beans. My God, he's not a busboy. He's a dish god. Look at him! You never see that, ladies and gentlemen. But you know, when I first started doing stand-up, I looked so young. My first line was always, I'd get on stage and go, how many people feel I look like I should be in the window at Sears? All boys wear, half off. Which you could still work that.
Well, that's like
You're the only interviewer that looks younger than me. I'm terrified. You're like 30, well, we don't want to say.
Whatever.
I'm 35, but I read at a 38-year-old level.
that's encouraging.
I've always been big for my age,
You're
even
precocious.
now.
You're a very precocious fella.
Don't use those big words on me, Bob. I went to a community college. Precocious, what is that?
You know what you should do?
Yes?
You should do Casey Kasem making some esoteric point about George Michael, and then segue between Casey Kasem and George Michael.
Into the look at my butt.
Yeah.
That is a trip. You know, when I did George Michael, which is so... Oh, he's trying to set me up here. And now, George Michael, the man with the magical butt. The butt that can rule nations. Here he is, George Michael. Look at my butt. I mean, imagine George Michael looking at this tape of me doing him, showing my butt, going, look at my butt. My butt has powers. My butt can control nations and rule continents. If you put a wilted flower near my butt, it blooms. I don't claim to understand my butt. I'm only its servant. Accept my butt and live, reject it and die. Now, this guy has to be watching this with his girlfriend or something. Like, it's a lot like me. I mean, it's a good impression, ain't it? But that was kind of weird.
You think anyone confuses him with George Michael of NBC's Sports Machine?
There was someone suggested I do that, you know, with George Michael with the Sports Machine thing, and you press the thing, it's all about the butts and stuff. I don't know. But I do think there is an obsession with buttocks, and I thought that someone should mention it. But it did. George Michael mentioned it on some music award show. He said, "Thanks to Saturday Night Live for giving my butt the notoriety it deserves." So and it changed his life.
Saturday Night Live, he actually spent his fair share of time hanging around the halls right here at NBC.
I mean, it sounds like I'm making up the story, but in 1981, I was on a sitcom called One of the Boys with Mickey Rooney, which filmed in 6A here in 30 Rock.
A colossal hit.
Oh, a monster hit, yeah, with good old Mickey. Bang! You hear me? Bang! He always did that for no apparent reason, just in the middle of a conversation. Bang! You hear me? Bang! No one ever knew why.
Kind of an endearing
personal
affectation.
Yeah. And anyway, that Saturday Night Live was up on the 8th floor, and I used to go up there and I'd sit up in the, and I'd watch Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy rehearsing. And I had the same makeup man that Joe Piscopo had. And I was just doing characters to him all day long, and he would go to Joe and say, there's a guy on One of the Boys, plays Mickey Rooney's grandson, this sitcom, and he does these impressions, and he was kind of teasing him, and he's as good as you are, you know.
Look, tell us to get out of here like Howard Cosell would, will you?
And you'll get out, you promise?
I promise.
All right, that's Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Howard Cosell reporting fourth quarter action, Sheffield, New Jersey. Oh, suddenly, Oliver Nugent and Bernard Solomon ejected from the room by the young Adam Shields.
How do you like that, huh? That's sensational. Son, these kids!
So, one day, Joe was getting a haircut in one of the rooms, and I walked in. I started doing Andy Rooney. You know, why do they call it this and that? And he just looked at me kind of weird and walked out. I don't know. I think he just didn't know, probably, who is this fool?
So when you finally get it, you think you got it made, or what's your feeling?
No, then when I first got the job, you know, I auditioned. Lauren saw me doing stand-up. Lauren Michaels, the producer, and they said, okay, you got it. Then I kind of wanted to go do a Woody Allen thing of, sure, just kidding, I don't really want to do it. I just wanted to know I could have it, you know. I mean, I was completely terrified that the show was really, I mean, it was at its worst state. We only had a 9-show pickup, and I certainly didn't want to be, oh, you were the guy who was on the very last cast. You know, I didn't want to be the guy who turned out the light, you know. So they kept saying, you got to hit the ground running. I'd never done sketch comedy. I was a stand-up. I'd never had someone react to my characters. If I did the church lady, I did the scene in my act, Church Lady and Tony Montana out on a date. Remember Scarface? Yeah. So it was like, you know, you got a nice ass, look at you. Well, we certainly have a little mouth problem, don't we? You know, and they would go back and forth. And then when I got the show, I could just stay in character and someone else would talk. So I didn't have a clue. You know, I was worried that if I could really do sketch comedy, you know. So I was just terrified, you know, and worked out well, so knock on wood.
What was your first stand-up routine like? What were you doing then?
I was doing basically impressions, and since I was playing really rough clubs where people were drunk and throwing things at me, I was doing blue comedy with impressions, you know, just real, I mean, really basic stuff. John Wayne having sex up against the bedpost and spread them, you know. I mean, like, just real basic.
Kind of sophisticated material.
Oh, it was terrible. Jimmy Stewart having sex. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, do me, bitch, do me. Yeah, nice. It was nice. It was that kind of stuff, you know. And it worked. It still works, you know. Walter Benning, yeah, I like you like that, you know. So it was just all, because the rooms were so rowdy and there was so much talking and yelling, and you couldn't set up a premise, you couldn't do characters. It took me years to start to do characters. It just was like, get the premise out, get the laugh, go, boom, you know.
Did you do Cosell in a state of amorous adventure?
Yeah, I used to do Cosell doing that. Oh, it's embarrassing, yeah. Howard Cosell, ready to begin sexual activity. But, oh, very good. You know, it was like that kind of thing. Action happening, yeah.
It happened quickly and it's over. There, right there. 7, 8 seconds at most, but a memorable 7 or 8 seconds. And now it has been consummated.
I didn't know. I thought only Roy Firestone could do impressions. That's amazing.
I didn't know myself until just now.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, so just sexual impressions. It was pretty embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing.
Off enough. He'll have to come back in 2 months.
Oh, my dad would just shave our heads. It was his whole life, you know. I mean, he would just, what do you want to have? You want to be a long hair? That's what he'd say to me. I'm like 5 years old. You want to be a long hair? You know, and he just there are 4 brothers, and we'd line us up on bar stools and just shave our heads, just shear us like sheep. And we looked like 4 billiard balls by the time he's finished, you know. My mom would come in, Dana, in the side pocket. Dinner was ready. She'd say, Bud, rack 'em up. Yeah, Bud's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother,